Billy the Kid. In recent years, many historians have been intrigued by this new manifesto of self-doubt, while others have exploded with apoplexy at this revolution from within their subject. In order to understand the history of how historians have arrived at this collective sense of uncertainty, it's useful to look briefly at some of the different ways in which the history of the Spanish conquest of Mexico has been written, not least because to do so also helps to explain the background to the story I'm going to tell in this book. Probably the most influential work written in English about this subject is The History of the Conquest of Mexico by William Hickling Prescott, 1796 to 1859. As a law student in Boston, he was blinded by a youthful prank and was forced to give up the law. Fortunately, he instead turned his attention to writing history. He is said to have had such a prodigious memory that he was able to compose the chapters for his books while out riding in the morning and then write them up in the afternoon, using a special writing contraption for the blind which he had bought in London. His writing style suggests that he had a formidable personality, and he wrote history with a strong sense of drama and great literary flair. What he saw in his mind's eye more than made up for the real world he could not see. Prescott was perhaps the most brilliant historian of his age, but he was also very much a child of his time and of the patrician social class into which he was born. As a result, his account is an aristocratic drama about his central character, Hernán Cortés, the commander of the first European army to march into Mexico and reach the Aztec capital in 1519. Prescott used the work of many Spanish historians who had glorified Cortés, but he set particular store by the letters that Cortés himself sent back to Spain describing his discoveries and conquests. Yet, was Prescott right to believe what Cortés had written? Did he stop to wonder critically enough why Cortés wrote them? Did a Spanish general have any reason to tell the truth? Yes and no. The basics are certainly true. A small force of Spaniards, perhaps as many as 1,500, seized control of the mighty Aztec Empire. But Cortés was also a turncoat and a rebel who had betrayed his own superior, the governor of Cuba, appointed by the Spanish crown. Cortés wrote his letters in order to prove that he was no traitor to his sovereign, the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, King of Spain, to convince Charles that he had done nothing wrong and was in fact an imperial hero. But he also wrote in order to dazzle the Spanish court with a brilliant story of bravery and fabulous wealth, and he took care to send those letters to Spain along with tangible proof of his success in the form of gold and silver. Cortés's letters tell a story that is ideal material for a man like Prescott, with a strong sense of Republican patrician honor. An inspiring and rebellious general, drawn from the gentry, led a small army of intrepid soldiers to an astonishing and glorious victory won against all odds over a great empire. They founded a new republic full of hope. God had clearly been on their side. As a parable, it suited Prescott, and it suited America. But is it too good to be true? After all, how did a handful of Spaniards conquer the great Aztec Empire? It sounds more like an Arthurian legend than fact. As the Western world became more democratic, explanations for the conquest of Mexico began to embrace the humble as well as the mighty. The history of Mexico came to be seen through the eyes of one of the less important soldiers in Cortés's army, Bernal Díaz del Castillo. Díaz wrote his true history of the conquest of New Spain in the 1550s because he was outraged that Cortés had contrived to claim all the glory for himself in the official account. But the true history was left unpublished until more egalitarian historians took an interest during the 19th century, welcoming Díaz's claim that all the Spaniards who had been involved, great and small, deserved the credit. But this was still the story of a purely European victory. When the great European powers were forced to surrender their American colonies, Europeans found themselves writing their own history as a story of loss and defeat. Writing about the conquest of Mexico, historians now characterized the Spaniards as foreign actors on an indigenous American stage.